Yep, it's about money. That awkward moment where a friend or relative asks you to lend them money. Waste, how to offset smashed avocado costs. If it's only a few bucks, maybe even 100 or two, then it's usually okay. But if it's thousands of dollars to help the borrower buy a car, put a deposit on a house or even start a business, then things start to get a bit more serious. And it can put you in a very tough spot. The closer the relative, the tougher the spot you're in. Because they assume that because you know them so well, you will automatically come up with the cash. What if you say no and it damages your relationship? What happens if, despite the borrower's best intentions, they end up not being able to pay you back? And what if it ends up affecting your own financial situation? Lending to friends and family is a minefield of potential problems, so before you even think about saying yes, here are 6 things you need to consider. It can be hard to say no to family members in need. Source, News Limited. 1. The initial response. Those first words in response are just so critical. But never, ever commit up front. The decision needs thought, more detail and a plan. So that first response has to be polite, friendly, encouraging and non-committal. You're buying yourself time and raising the possibility of a future rejection /. So keep it neutral, something along the lines of, let me talk to my accountant and bank manager. Or I'd love to help but I need to just check my own finances because I've had some big expenses and a few coming up. I am not sure I have the spare cash. Or that sounds a great idea for a business, why don't you send me a business plan and I'll get my accountant to look at it. You get the drift. Delay the decision and bring in another element, like an accountant or bank manager, which you can use as the reason for a rejection in the future. 2. Can I afford it? The fact that someone is asking you to shell out means they have probably made some assumptions about the strength of your financial situation compared to their own, but we are willing to bet they don't know your full story. So the first step in your decision-making process is a realistic assessment of whether you can actually afford it. Ask yourself, can I afford to lose this money and what you'd have to sacrifice if the money wasn't repaid? Always protect your family first, and don't put yourself in a situation that could jeopardize the financial security you've worked so hard to create. Blaming a big mortgage, an upcoming overseas holiday or other big expense is a great excuse for not having any spare cash. 3. Can they pay me back? A loan that the borrower has no hope of repaying is actually a gift, and a generous one at that. So unless you're feeling particularly charitable, where you don't get a tax deduction, you need to be realistic about whether they can actually repay the money. Think about the character of the person asking for money, talk to them about how exactly they are going to manage the repayments, and don't accept vague or unconvincing answers. Ask them to provide you with a budget on their family finances and ask that they provide you with a monthly update to see whether they are sticking to the plan.